Sunday. I hope people came back again. The more we channel the light, the more the light's going to benefit us, because we're a universe unto ourselves. And this is why, since we're the creators of our life, we want to just be creating with the light more harmony, more joy, more happiness, more love, more abundance, more prosperity. And that's why, as we're about to do now, we want to start out with our affirmation. Let's see. Yay. Okay. So those of you following online, we're going to say it together, with those of you who are here, right? Together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Okay. So I wanted to introduce you to a few secrets that most people don't know. We often talk about the Bible, and the Kabbalists, especially here in the center, we understand that the Bible is true. The 5 books of Moses took place, those people lived, they did what they did, on and on and on. But what we want to get, and the most important thing for us to understand Kabbalistically, is it's a code. You know, it's just like if you think during conflict, one side wants to send a coded message to their soldiers out on the field. So when you read it literally, it may say, whatever, send the army to the left. But what the code actually is saying is, no, send the army to the right. So there is something to the code, but most importantly is unlocking that code. So this is what the Zohar and the Kabbalists have been giving us, the way to unlock the code of the 5 books of Moses, so that's not a history lesson. Because in general, history hasn't served us so well, even though they teach us we're supposed to learn from history. But we don't seem to be learning, and that's really where I was inspired to share this message this morning, because the Garden of Eden never disappeared. It's here now, it's available and accessible, but we want to come to understand what the story is teaching us for 2022, and what we can do to live that Garden of Eden. So I'm going to start just with a general story to kind of refresh our mind, especially on what we said last week, that when we came out of the endless world, we only came out as one being. And so even the Bible starts out in the first book of Genesis. There was one being, and then the story says the Creator took a bone out of the being, not out of Adam, out of the human being that was here on earth, an ethereal being, and now created Adam and Eve. So even if you think simple of that story, it means there was one being. Even you want to say it was Adam, but there was one being and then split into 2. Now, where are they? They're in the Garden of Eden. Paradise. Could you imagine? If you and I were in paradise now, I can hear us already saying, oh, I would just enjoy it, I would appreciate it, I would love it, I would be so happy. So let's remember and remind ourselves what happened to you and me as Adam and Eve. So we start like this, a couple facts. 1, there's 2 trees, tree of knowledge, tree of life. The Creator tells us you can have everything there is, just don't eat from the tree of knowledge, which is in the midst of the garden. Now there's this thing called the snake. At least that's how they translate it. The snake comes along, looks at Eve and says, Eve, look at this tree. It's so amazing, so great. It'll make you as smart as God. Eat. So what does she do? She eats of it. And then if you read the Bible story, it says, and then she gave with her husband who was sitting there, who was with her. He eats. Now all of a sudden they realize that they're naked. I'm just checking the reactions here. They were naked, and now they're ashamed, which means they weren't ashamed. Now they're ashamed. So they run and hide. Comes the voice of God. Adam, Eve, where are you? Can you picture this? I don't know if you can visualize. They're hiding from God. Where are you going to hide from God? They're hiding in the bushes, right? Adam, where are you? I'm here. Why are you hiding? Well, I'm naked, and I'm ashamed. Who told you you're naked? And here comes another way to understand that what went on there that's teaching us the universal laws of creation itself hasn't changed in thousands of years since then. What does Adam say? God, the woman you gave me, it's her fault. I ate from that tree. God says, Eve, what happened? So, oh no, God, it was the snake. The snake did this to us. And now what comes? God looks at the snake and says, you shall be crawling on your belly for all of your life, eating the dirt. That's a question we have to ask, which we'll get to that secret also. Then he looks at Eve. Because of what you did, you're going to have pain in childbirth, which then means, by inference, childbirth shouldn't be painful. It's only because of what we did in the Garden of Eden, the mistake we made, that childbirth is painful. And then, how do they say people earn their living? Quote unquote, the men. And please forgive me, I'm just going by the story. God looks at Adam and says, to make a living, you're going to have to work by the sweat of your brow, and you're going to have to plow, and you're going to have to make all this effort to earn a living, which means then, as we've come to understand in the Kabbalah Center, that everything is already given to us. Our job is not trying to get, it's just revealing all the abundance, all the goodness, all the beneficence that the Creator gave us. And then, after all of this, what happens? We're thrown out of the garden. I know most of us consider Boca Raton almost like heaven. Or maybe wherever you are, right? Okay. So we want to get to understand, oh, and one other thing, just a reminder, as we said last week, all of us, every one of the 8 billion people on the planet come from Adam and Eve. Is that not true? Biblically. So just for you who may still be holding on a little bit to the idea of evolution, let me just be logical for a moment. Somewhere along, if you follow the path of evolution, somewhere along the line, there had to be the first male human and the first female human. And then, even in that way, from them come all the 8 billion people. I mean, it had to start somewhere. So whether you believe Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve, or you believe evolution, there had to be those first 2 entities from which we all come. So the first thing to remind you, as we spoke last week, God didn't create black, white, yellow, brown, Jew, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, I don't know, American, Asian, European, what have you. Unless Adam and Eve looked like a jigsaw puzzle, a little piece of them black, white, yellow, brown, Jew, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, etc. No, they were just 2 beings from which we all come. So let's get into now a little bit of the Zohar, as I would like to call it, the Zohar's translation, meaning what it can give us in 2022. So the first thing is, and I remember when I first started even learning before I was a teacher, and I heard this. Those of you who know a little bit of Hebrew, I encourage you to go back to the story of the Garden of Eden. It says Adam and Eve were naked, right? And the word it uses in Hebrew, arum, naked. But then it says something very confusing. It says this thing that they translate as the snake was also naked. Well, I don't know about you. I've never seen a snake dressed in Gucci. Have you? No, not the 2-legged kind. I can already hear, he doesn't know that guy who cheated me and this and that one. Those snakes, which we're going to get into. So what does it mean? What does it mean that Adam and Eve were naked and the snake, or this Nachash it's called, was also naked? So for you and I, what we learn here in the Kabbalah Center, what do we often say about ourselves? Here in Spiritual Sunday, we are pure and perfect beings of light. I am a pure and perfect being of light. You are a pure and perfect being of light. So pure and perfect light, that's just like naked energy, right? Just pure light, unconditional love. That was Adam and Eve. That is you and me. That's our true nature. So what about the nature of the Nachash? Pure opposition, pure ego, pure selfishness. That's what it means naked. Like it's just there. When you and I learn from Kabbalah 1, pause. Listen to the voice of that opponent. I like to call it the parasite in our head of ego and selfishness. It's just blatant. Is it not? Be angry, scream and yell, be jealous, criticize, speak gossip, beat yourself up. Hello, when we stop and hear it that way, isn't it just pure, naked selfishness? Negativity? Of course it is. The voice inside of us, of our soul, the true light being, is the one that says you are unlimited. You have the power over all darkness, chaos, and negativity, because you are a being of light, a piece of the Creator. Pure, naked positivity. So there was no snake. In fact, when we go to the curse, if we think snake, again, a snake crawls on its belly already. What kind of curse when God said, and the snake, the nachash, you will crawl on your belly and eat dirt all your life? So what the Kabbalists teach us, as we just spoke about, what does our opponent, what does our nachash look like? Looks like you and me. When I look in the mirror and I'm thinking negative and I'm letting that negative voice in my head control my thought, oh, you made a mistake. How could you have done that? So foolish, you know better. What does my opponent look like? Who does it look like? It looks like me. I'm looking in the mirror. It looks like me. Your opponent looks like you. So the Kabbalists say that this thing called the Nachash was a being, as we'd call it, 2 arms, 2 legs. Stood upright like Adam and Eve. That's why we can understand the curse was to crawl on the belly and eat dirt. I just heard it. You know that expression? When somebody doesn't like somebody and they did something bad, say, eat dirt. Now you know where it comes from. From the Garden of Eden. So again, we didn't leave the Garden of Eden. We're still living this whole system, this whole set of circumstances. So there's one. There's one. The snake and Adam and Eve, the opponent is not outside of us. There is no opposition in the physical world. There's only an opposition. There's only opponent in our own head. And that's what we want to understand and we learn from Kabbalah 1. And here in Spiritual Sunday, we keep reminding ourselves. The opponent is fighting that voice in my head. And the same way we just said, now maybe you get it a little differently. My opponent looks like me. Your opponent looks like you. So we've often spoke about the voice in our head that is not us, that is that parasitic voice, competitor, opponent, adversary, whatever name you want to call it, sounds like us, but it's not us. It's just a good imitation. What does it do for us? Kabbalistically, it gives us free will. So basically, we have the free will. Listen to the voice of the opponent, listen to the voice of our soul. That's it. What were the 2 trees? In simple terms, that was it. Listen to the tree, in other words, fall into the illusion of the 5 senses, tree of knowledge, good and evil. If the light is infinite, is there really good and bad? Light and darkness? No. That's the illusion of our perception versus the tree of life, which is all the light all the time, all the goodness, all the blessings. That's the tree we're supposed to eat of, but living in this world. So we have to live in the physical world. We just have to decide which voice we're going to listen to and follow. The voice of our opponent, the parasite of selfishness in our head, or the voice of our soul, the one that wants us to have all the blessings, gives us the ways and means to have all the blessings, and how to turn all of our chaos to order, how to remove the darkness by transforming it into light. That's the voice of our soul. That's the voice we want to listen to. So let me give you a couple examples. And you should be thinking in your own life. Think maybe your experience or somebody else's experience being fired from a job. Ever happened to you? Know somebody who was fired? Yes? Exactly. Now, what are the 2 choices that go on at that moment? So there's the voice of the opponent. When a person gets fired, what's the opponent saying? Be a victim, blame people. It's the nasty coworker who said something or took your business or whatever it may have been. Be a victim. How could this happen to me? I'm such a good person. I'm so nice. And just fall into the mud of darkness, despair, chaos, sadness, all the rest of it. That's one choice. The other choice is listening to the voice of our soul. And what could our soul be telling us at that moment? If, and this is our condition for you and me, if we've been making an effort to grow spiritually, to transform ourselves, to shine more light into the world, then when you hear the voice of your soul at that moment of being fired, what are you going to hear? You know what? This is an opportunity to move on to something better. You've outlived what you can do and what you can share and how you can help other people in this job, in this set of circumstances. Yes, I will tell you. So before I came to Kabbalah, most of you know, I spent 10 years studying and ultimately teaching different form of spirituality. And I found myself in the beginning of my decision to actually teach spirituality at that point, I found myself in a very comfortable job. I worked at a private elementary school. I taught kids from kindergarten through 8th grade, physical education, swimming, athletics. I ran the summer camp. It was so great. I mean, it's so comfortable. So out of nowhere, after about my 3rd year, the woman who owns the school, she calls me into her office just before the Thanksgiving break. And she looks at me and she says, "We are not going to renew your contract." Now, I can't say I've done this all the time, but in this particular situation, it was like there was the moment, a microsecond, and then for whatever my blessing was, I heard the voice of my soul. You say you want to teach spirituality, you say you want to help people remove pain and suffering from their lives, from the world, and here you are just falling into this comfortable job. It was nice, nothing wrong with the job, nothing wrong with the people, but I wasn't pushing myself to get out and teach people how to remove pain and suffering. So there was a microsecond of, and then there was like this huge infusion of light. And I tell you, to your face here and to your face over the internet, I almost got out of my chair, went over to this woman and hugged and kissed her. But I thought she'd think I was crazy. She just fired me and now I'm going to go hug and kiss her. But I realized she was the messenger from my soul telling me, hey, the process. I didn't understand the opponent at that point, but looking back, that's really what I was understanding. The opponent was trying to keep me just enmeshed in this very nice, comfortable job, but not pushing myself forward to bring illumination and wisdom and technology to other people. That's what made me happy. So when there's something like that, choice, be a victim, blame, or just realize it's an opportunity to go to your next level, find a job that not only in the physical level, but on a spiritual level, be better for you. You can reveal more of your light, right? The vessel of that job, of that next job with those people, you can shine more light, reveal more of your light. Or another situation, some way, shape, or form, a person has been cheated on in their relationship. Ooh, painful, no? And I'm not saying it's not painful, but again, you have 2 choices. Tree of knowledge, tree of life. The voice of our opponent going to say what? Hate them. How could they act that way? How could they do that to me? To me, how could they do that? You better go spread gossip about them. How bad they are, how terrible they are, what they said, how they acted, etc. Which does nothing but enmesh the person speaking in greater and greater dirt, mud, negativity. Which is what the opponent wants. Because when we act in that way, we give light, some of our soul's light to the opponent, because that's the only way it exists. Or we can say the same thing similarly. You know what? Better I found out now who this person really is than keep going on and on and on. And at the same time, as I move away from them, if I hold the light consciousness, then I've created an opening to find somebody who's better, who matches my spiritual level, who wants to grow spiritually like I want to grow spiritually. Because maybe in a similar way, maybe we found ourselves in a sense of comfort, comfortable physically, emotionally, mentally in this situation. How many of us along the way had the voice of our soul tell us, should leave this relationship, should move on? And then you heard the voice of your opponent say, no, it's so nice and comfortable. Why bother, right? How are you going to find somebody else? It's been so long. You're so enmeshed in this relationship. Or look at them. They're so good. They're so nice in all these ways. The opponent doesn't let you see all the bad stuff. So it's always our choice. Or I had something I'll share with you very recently. A couple got divorced a number of years ago. And the wife is a student in the center. And come to find out, we've been working together for a while. And come to find out, she wanted to move from where she was. She wanted to move to another place. But she didn't want to take her kids away from their father. So now she and I had been working on her spiritual growth, unblocking herself, how she beat herself up, to start forgiving herself, how she was acting with blame and victimization, how to heal that. So she was making great strides in her spiritual growth. And you and I have learned, you let the light out, the light will bring back to you great blessings. So very recently, her ex-husband decided that he wanted to take the kids and live in a foreign country 6 months out of the year. So she tells me at first, it was like, oh. And what did her opponent tell her after all this spiritual growth? You're such an idiot, she's saying to herself. He doesn't care. He didn't care. You could have moved whatever years ago. And I helped her. I stopped her right there. I said, no, let's look at it the other way. You've been making great strides to grow. The idea that you wanted to keep your kids near their father is good. It's a sharing spiritual thought. And up until now, it was the right thing to do. You needed to transform. You need to have the situations that you experienced in the last few years. And then look what happened as you grew. As you grew spiritually, your ex decides he wants to take the kids in his 6 months or whatever to go live in a foreign country, which now gives you freedom to move where you want to move. So if you think about it, let's say a couple years ago, if you had said to him, I want to take the kids away, maybe that would have been fight, discord, more negativity, adding to the chaos in your life. This way, by your spiritual transformation and being willing and able and doing the actions of sending him light, forgiving him from the past, changing yourself, overcoming some of your tikkun, your negativity from your past of this life, the Creator set it up for you. That you now have freedom to go somewhere else, and He's not going to stop you because He's already opened up that pathway. So now you shine even brighter. You don't have to argue over moving to another city, moving them away from their father. I mean, think about how perfect a scenario that is. So we have to start looking at ourselves. And I encourage you, take a minute to think about some situation in your life right now. And listen, what's the voice of your opponent telling you? How is it challenging you to just give into divisiveness, ego, selfishness, anger, fear, resentment, greed, criticism? Think about it. Why do we have to give in to that? We don't. That's the whole point. But let's reveal another secret from the Garden of Eden. And now I hope you're getting the idea. of how that scenario from the Bible, translated Kabbalistically, we can see how it's impacting us today. We're living it out again, over and over. But I want to give you another secret. Because as the Kabbalists teach us, we cannot, should not take the Bible only on its literal level. Doesn't mean, as we said, it's not true also physically. But to limit it to its literal level makes it history. And as we've said, history doesn't always teach us the true inner lesson because the outside's changed. I mean, think of physical technology 200 or 300 years ago. No computers, no cars, no cell phones, no fax machines, which for us is already history, right? But 300 years ago is an advancement of the future. So we have different technology, we have different scenarios. But when we boil it down, it's all the same thing. Are we giving in to the opponent or are we giving in to the light? And so what the Kabbalists say is called the sin of Adam and Eve, which you and I understand there's no sin as in defecting the light. You cannot. But what they teach us is, it wasn't just eating of the tree of knowledge. Because the tree of knowledge corresponds to our physical world, the five senses. Look at the story. How did the snake tempt Eve? Look at the tree, how good it looks, five senses. How good it will taste, five senses. How wise it will make you, five senses. He taunted her into the five senses, and then the secret is, it wasn't about just eating from it. It was separating the physical from the spiritual. It was disconnecting from the light. It was forgetting that we are pure and perfect beings of the light. It was beginning to accept or believe randomness, chaos, chance, coincidence, accidents, darkness. Because you and I learned there is no accidents and no coincidence and no chaos. There's disarray, but there's not chaos. There's things out of place because we've moved them out of place. But it doesn't have to be chaotic and painful. Just means our opportunity to put them back in order. So what is life? If you think about it, why do the same things happen to us over and over and over again? Fired from a job, broken relationships, same health issues over and over, same thing in the world. Even if you think you're okay, but you're upset by what goes on in the world. When has that changed? It just changes characters. You ever watch, I won't say which, but you ever watch some series of movies, right? There's a movie comes out, it becomes very popular, and then there's the same thing, number 2, and number 3, and number 4, and number 5, and number 6, and number 7. Basically, it's all the same scenario, is it not? Just different characters. That's our life. Get fired from a job. Who's the common factor? You and me. Just because it's a different boss, different country, different profession, different office, different group of people, it's the same thing. Bad relationships, same thing. Who's the common factor? We are. Health issues, who's the common factor? We are. The Kabbalists teach us we are the center of our universe and the creator of our lives. Once we can accept it, then we can recreate our lives. We don't accept it, we're stuck. You like being stuck? We don't think so. But then, as the Rav and Karen always taught us, why, in some way or another, do we love to hug our chaos? Think in simple terms. What's a drama king or queen? Somebody who loves to hug their chaos. Why? Because they get to go spread their story of woe is me to dozens of people, and everybody looks at them, oh, you are so good. What's the matter? How could that happen to you? You're so good. You're so kind. You're this and this. Yes, give me more. Give me more. Tell me how great and wonderful I am. That's hugging our chaos. Because it's not changing anything, is it? And it's not necessarily gossip, but it's still going around repeating the same story so people will give us sympathy. Pushed a few buttons. Okay. So let me give you the last one for today. The last secret. It wasn't even eating of the tree of knowledge that was the problem. There was a potato chip. I won't say which, because I don't know what they're going to do here, but there was a potato chip years ago that used to advertise, you cannot eat just one. Meaning it was so good, if you tasted one, you would have to eat more. So the Zohar, the Kabbalists teach us that Adam and Eve took one bite of whatever we'll call the fruit of the tree of knowledge, good and evil. They took one bite, as we explained already today, maybe of chaos, discord, negative thoughts, anger, jealousy, etc. Wasn't the first bite was the problem. It was the second bite they took. That's what got them in trouble and ultimately got them kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Now, how does that relate to you and me? So most of you here have taken Kabbalah 1. Many of you, I'm sure, online have taken Kabbalah 1. If you haven't, go to Kabbalah.com and review it. The first bite is that little pinch of pain or discomfort that we feel when we're challenged. Like I shared with you the story of being fired from that job. Yes, in the first microsecond, it was like a pinch. It was painful. Why, how, whatever was going through my mind. That's the first bite. Something doesn't go your way and you start to have, as we call it, you're being triggered. That button is being pushed. Anger, fear, insecurity, resentment, criticism, jealousy, victim, greed, ego, whatever it is. That's not the problem. The Rav and Karen used to describe it as, we are not made of stone and steel. So if somebody yells and screams at us nasty things, it's not a problem to feel hurt, to feel shocked, to feel angry. It's the second bite. It's after we have that feeling and the voice of the opponent comes in and says, so do the same thing you've done every time before. Scream and yell, run away, blame them, be a victim. That's the problem. The first bite is not a problem. Because if we don't feel hurt, angry, one of those negative emotions, number one, then we don't know what we need to change. Number two is we don't know where our power, the true light and blessings, is hiding. Because it's within the ego is hiding the light of the Creator. Within our jealousy is hiding the light of the Creator and all the blessings. Within our selfishness, resentment, hurt, whatever it is, the light is hiding because the light is infinite, so it can't go anywhere, it can't disappear. It just gets covered by the negative emotion. And the opponent plays us, taunts us. Just keep acting the same way you did before. Run away, cry, go gossip, hit people, whatever it may be. That's the second bite. We come to understand, no, when we're triggered, our job is to turn the opponent into our advocate, our assistant. If you think about it, And it's funny, I don't know why they call it this, but years and 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 years ago, I was interning, let's call it, as a painter, like painting rooms, house painter, that sort of thing. And I learned the term. Okay, so now imagine you get hired to paint the room. So you do your job, paint, right? The person who hired you, in simple terms, what will they do? They'll look around and they'll look for a spot you didn't paint, like you missed. You know what they call that? A holiday. I still don't understand why they gave it that name, but in essence, it's a holiday where you didn't paint. So the owner, the person who hired you, looking around, and they say, oh, Chaim, you didn't paint, you missed this spot over there. Now, think in our terms, you have a simple choice. Scream and yell, how could you say that? What are you saying? I do a great job. What are you blaming me for? What are you criticizing? No, what do? I want to do a full job. I want them to enjoy and feel that I did everything that I can, that I painted their room what they hired me to do. So when they say, oh, you missed that spot over there, I say, thank you for pointing it out. I get the paint and I fill it in. So the only reason we left the endless world, as we spoke last week, because we didn't have an ability to share. We came here to imitate the Creator, which shared all of its light and therefore has eternal blessing, which is why, going back to our story, why did the one being have to split into two? Because if it's only one being, who do you share with? You can't really share with yourself. So the split into, as they called it, Adam and Eve, is so each one could share with the other. Imitate the Creator, eternal bliss. Never have to leave the Garden of Eden. But we didn't. You and me, as Adam and Eve, still taking on our piece of that. Today, I get angry, I get upset. Again, the feeling not a problem, the first bite. But then we're learning how to say, oh, thank you, opponent. You're pointing out where I didn't share, how I didn't share, that I still have some blockage. I thought I got rid of all my anger. I'm always smiling, so joyous. Then something happens, pushes the anger button. I say, oh, maybe I have a little piece left. Maybe I got rid of 90%. I still have 10% to go. So then I use the opponent to help me, not to hurt me. That's our job. And how much of a change can you make if you do this? So I'll tell you a quick story. One of the great sages, Rabbi Akiva, one of the greatest Kabbalists in history, he knew by her horoscope, and you can study Kabbalistic astrology if you want, but he saw, and especially on his level of consciousness, he saw that his daughter was going to die on her wedding day. So he never told her anything, just wanted her to live her life, enjoy her life, and enjoy her wedding day. And then whatever happened. So the wedding day comes, the end of the wedding, after the reception, everything, she's still alive. So Rabbi Akiva, being this great Kabbalist, goes to her and says, my daughter, tells her the story. You were supposed to die on this day. What did you do to change your destiny? How did you push yourself outside of your comfort zone to share? And she thinks back and she says, well, in the midst of the reception, now imagine your wedding. You're celebrating. It's a joyous occasion. In the middle of this, when everybody's paying attention to the two of you, she goes out. She sees through the window. She sees a poor man. Looks like he's starving. She goes out to bring him in, to feed him and enjoy, have this festive occasion. And so Rabbi Akiva told her, that extension of yourself in your day, instead of just give me all the attention and let me feel my joy, she went out to help other people. So they investigate, and what they found was when she took her veil off, or the hat, you could say, and she stuck, I don't know why they do it, and I'm not telling you to do it, especially if you're under 18. I don't want your parents mad at me. But when she took her veil off with one of those long hat pin type of thing, and she pinned the veil through the wall, when they went on the other side of the wall, that pin had gone through the eye of a poisonous snake that was the one that was going to kill her. So she changed her destiny literally from death to life. When you and I are willing to not separate the tree of knowledge from the tree of life, when we're willing to see, no, pause, everything comes from the light, everything comes from my soul, and every challenge in my life is my opportunity to grow to my next level by exerting my spiritual muscle to share. Like we say, more love, more kindness, more generosity, more compassion, more humility, more gratitude. As we will do that, then our destiny changes equally. Because everything is cause and effect, and we are the center of our universe. So how did the Garden of Eden, why aren't we experiencing it now? So the Bible says, as we all got kicked out, the Garden of Eden wasn't destroyed, but it is guarded by what's called a revolving sword. And what is that revolving sword? The tree of knowledge in our consciousness, meaning the ups and downs of life, the chaos, the confusion, the believing that things are random and that darkness is real. As we will overcome that, as we will change our consciousness and therefore our actions, we'll realize, one, we never left the Garden of Eden. That pattern has been continuing for all these thousands of years. And our work, whether we consider it individually or collectively, is to correct the disconnect. So when my button's being pushed, I have the chance. Further disconnect or use what you and I are learning here. Implement the wisdom, the tools that we learn in the Kabbalah Center to reconnect ourselves with the light. Break the illusion, break the shell hiding the light. Let more of our light shine out into the world. Seeing and knowing by our actions there is a cause and effect. And remembering we are powerful beings of light because that's the only thing the Creator could create. And as we're willing in this world to decide, I'm going to share my light, our light unconditionally, no matter what the circumstance, no matter who the person is, I'm going to beam light. Then I'm allowing the light to take away my darkness, take away our chaos, reveal the blessings, and at the same time, light will protect us from darkness. So don't worry. Don't let the opponent tell you, yeah, but if you shine light and you act so kind and nice, everybody's going to come and take advantage of you. No. Light protects from darkness. Unconditional love will protect you from all the aspects of death, whether it's death of peace of mind, death of prosperity, death of a sense of serenity and peace, or even physical death. It's our opportunity today. And if you think about it, coincidentally, we are in Mother's Day, and in its simplest term, a mother is the conduit to bring new life into this world. So may we all live this wisdom, this understanding today in a greater way, that we bring from within us more of the life, more of the goodness, and more of the blessings that the Creator gave us already, that is ours to reveal. So we can remove the revolving sword and we can live heaven on earth, our piece of the Garden of Eden. God bless. Thank you. So as we do every Sunday, and as I want to remember, and hopefully will continue to remember, we cannot achieve the goal of the center, which is removing all the pain and suffering from the world, if we don't have your help and support. It's just that simple. So this is why we take our time now to bless our offering. So whatever your heart has opened you up to share, remembering that your money is simply a vessel of your light, your love, and your appreciation. So let's just take a moment, and then we will do, as we do every week, we're going to do a meditation on one of the 72 names to give us strength now while our heart and our soul is open to keep this consciousness strong enough that it will continue from this point forward. So if I can ask you, those of you here, you can physically hold your offering. Those of you online, I put the link that you can share afterwards. But let's just start with gratitude. Grateful to be reminded constantly we are pure and perfect beings of light. To be reminded that the blessings are already within us. God-given talents, abilities, blessings, it's all been set out within us. Our job is to take the potential and make it actual, take that which is within us and express it in the outer world so it becomes manifest for our blessings and to influence others with the light that it shines. And so we're injecting this gift with our light, our love, our blessing, that through the projects of the center, which is simply but most powerfully the technology of the soul, to activate the light in the soul of every human being on earth, that the world shines brighter, and we know that those blessings will come back to us hundreds and thousands of times over, bringing us in the right moment, in the right way, the right solution, the right awareness, and the power to live fully into our pure and perfect light beingness. And together we say, Amen. So now we have, let's see, for those of you who are here, this is one of the 72 names. For those of you online, Hey Resh Chet is actually plugging into the light, living the light, injecting the light, whichever we'd like to look at, which means living from the light, from the tree of life, as we spoke about today, and connecting the tree of life with the tree of knowledge, which is the physical world. So we live from our soul, but act in the physical world as a channel of light, making use of the physical world completely and fully as an ability to reveal that light. So just let these shapes, which are primordial, they just shine the light of the Creator. Hey, Resh, Chet. Let them be engraved in your mind's eye. And then if I can ask you to sit comfortably in your chair, close your eyes, hands in your lap, just taking a few deep breaths, relaxing into the light. Allowing yourself, as you breathe in, to bring in light, as you exhale, to remove any stress, tensions, blockages. Just feeling this greater light from within. Feeling and seeing and sensing yourself surrounded in the light. Opening your heart and your mind to the truth that we are all pure and perfect beings of light. And now envisioning the 72 name of Hey, Resh, Chet. Seeing it just in front of your third eye, the eye of your soul, the eye of your true intuition. Hey, Resh, Chet. See it glowing with light. It's channeling from the upper world, light through your third eye, and directly into your heart and soul. Strengthening your connection to the totality of the light in your soul. That you have greater clarity, that you truly are a pure complete being of light, and that it's the Creator's light that is your true life, your power, your abilities. And collectively, with one heart, one mind, one soul, let's allow, with the support of this name, a very intense, powerful beam of light to shine out from our soul, through our heart, with unconditional love, reaching into the heart and the soul of every human being on earth. That this is a higher act of truly knowing, seeing, and living, that every person is also that pure being of light. And the only reason any of us behave in any other way is the taunting and the habit of giving in to the voice of the opponent. And so as we're extending, and you and I are channeling this light of the Hey, Reish, Chet, we are activating higher and higher levels of that pure light in us and in all people. We can see the spiritual internet of light that interconnects each and every one of us with each and every person on earth. That boosts our certainty and therefore our actions of constantly sharing this light. That as we share with the 8 billion people on the planet, we are plugging in more powerfully, with more intensity, to the ultimate tree of life. And therefore accessing and drawing on the clarity, the wisdom, the strength, the guidance to act in ways to bring chaos to order, discord to harmony, and transforming all darkness into light. Take conscious note of that greater sense of peace and serenity that you're feeling now. Acknowledging the flow of light has increased from above, through you, out to the world. And let's commit ourselves to continue this flow, to have strength in the midst of a challenge, to pause, remember this feeling, and just shine more light, and thereby receive clarity, inspiration of how to shine more light, how to act, what to say, that will reach the heart and soul of all people and awaken the light in them. And let's take one more deep breath to anchor this into our heart and soul and our mind. And as you exhale, slowly opening your eyes. So those of you here, thank you for joining. Those of you online, thank you for being with us. Enjoy, have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week. And just as a reminder, Facebook Messenger me, whatever, email me, let me know your experiences, your questions, how this wisdom is making your life better so it can be shared with other people. God bless. Have a great week. Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.